There is a kind of strength that makes no sound. It doesn't argue, doesn't perform, doesn't need the room to turn and look. It belonged to the man who is completely at ease when no one is watching, and who therefore cannot be bought, flattered, or frightened by the crowd. Most people spend their whole lives afraid of the very thing that could make them free: solitude. By the end of this, you'll understand why the ability to be alone is the foundation of every other kind of power, and how to build it. The Stoics did not fear being alone. They trained for it. Seneca said that the man who cannot bear his own company in silence is a man who has never truly met himself. And Marcus Aurelius, who could have surrounded himself with the entire court of Rome, wrote his most private thoughts to no audience at all, reminders to himself, for himself, in solitude. He understood that a mind at peace alone is a mind no one can hold hostage in public. First, understand the trap you're likely in without knowing it. Most people cannot be alone, not really. The moment silence falls, they reach for a phone, a voice, a distraction, anything to avoid the quiet. And here's what that costs them. A man who cannot stand to be alone will do almost anything to avoid it. He'll keep people in his life who drain him, because empty is worse. He'll agree when he wants to disagree, because rejection feels like abandonment. He'll chase approval, because the proud's attention is the only thing that quiets the discomfort inside him. Machiavelli understood leverage, and this is the deepest leverage of all. The man who needs the room can be moved by the room. Give him applause, and he'll do what you want. Threaten to withdraw it, and he'll fold. His need is the handle, and everyone around him, consciously or not, holds it. You cannot be sovereign while your peace depends on other people staying in the room. Now, this is where the imitators get it dangerously wrong, so let's be precise. Solitude is not isolation. This matters more than anything else I'll say. Isolation is running from people. It's a wound, a wall built out of fear, resentment, or exhaustion. The isolated man isn't strong, he's hiding, and hiding hardens into something bitter over time. That's the cold, empty, I need no one pose the clones sell, and it's a slow poison. Solitude is different. Solitude is choosing to be alone in order to return to yourself. It's not a wall against others, it's a room you enter on purpose, so that when you rejoin the world, you bring a whole self back into it, instead of a hungry one. The isolated man avoids people because he fears them. The solitary man can be deeply with people, precisely because he doesn't need them. That is the entire difference, and the whole game turns on it. The goal was never to need no one. The goal is to need nothing from anyone in order to be at peace, which is what frees you to actually love and choose the people in your life, instead of clinging to them. So, why is solitude so hard? Why does the silence feel unbearable to so many? Here is the truth, almost no one says. When you remove every distraction, every notification, every voice, you are finally left alone with the one person you've been avoiding your entire life. Yourself. And for most people, that meeting is uncomfortable, because the silence brings up everything they've been outrunning. The regret, the fear, the unlived life. The question of whether they're actually becoming who they meant to be. Distraction was never entertainment. It was anesthetic. It kept the deeper questions numb. This is why people fill every quiet moment, not because they love noise, but because they're afraid of what the silence will say. And the man who never sits in that silence never hears it, and so he never grows, because everything that needs to change in you is waiting quietly in the room you refuse to enter. And this is the depth the other channels skip entirely. The reason their version of solitude produces cold, brittle men instead of sovereign ones. Carl Jung said that who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. Solitude is where you finally look inside, and what waits there is your shadow, every part of yourself you've disowned, buried, or performed over. The anger you pretend you don't have, the grief you never sat with, the hunger for love you're ashamed of. In the noise, you can keep these buried. In true solitude, they surface. And that surfacing is not a breakdown. It's the beginning of becoming whole.
Here's why this makes you unmovable in a crowd.
The man who has met his shadow in solitude has nothing left to be triggered. He's already seen his own fear, his own need, his own darkness, sat with it and made peace. So when the crowd tries to reach one of those buttons, flattery, insult, rejection, he's already been to the bottom of himself and come back. That is a calm no room can shake, because it was built somewhere the room can't reach. The isolated man buries his shadow deeper and calls it strength. The solitary man faces it and is actually freed by it. One is a costume, the other is sovereignty. So how do you build it? Not by waiting to feel like it. Solitude is a discipline, not a mood. And like any discipline, it's uncomfortable before it's liberating. Start small and deliberate. Sit with yourself for 10 minutes, with no phone, no music, no input, and let the discomfort come. Don't fight it, don't fix it, just watch it. That discomfort is the anesthetic wearing off. Do it daily. Take a walk with nothing in your ears, and let your own mind finally speak to you. Eat a meal in silence. Sit with a hard feeling, instead of reaching for the screen that makes it disappear. Each time, you're widening your capacity to be with yourself, and every inch of that capacity is an inch the crowd loses its grip on. Seneca said we should withdraw into ourselves as much as possible, not to escape people, but to become someone worth returning to them as. The time alone is not time away from your life. It's where the self that lives your life gets built. And here is what happens to the man who does this work. He walks back into the room changed, and everyone feels it, though they can't name it. He listens without needing to be heard. He can disagree without fear, because rejection no longer feels like death. He gives from fullness, instead of grasping from emptiness. He chooses his people, instead of clinging to whoever's nearest. He can stand in a crowd and be entirely himself, because he already knows exactly who that is. He met him in the silence. The room no longer owns him, so for the first time, he can actually enjoy the room. This is the paradox the loud men will never understand. It's not the person who needs everyone who ends up surrounded by the right people. It's the person who needs no one, and therefore has something real to offer. Self-sufficiency doesn't make you cold. Done rightly, it's the only thing that lets you be truly warm, because your warmth is finally free of need. So, do the thing almost everyone avoids. Enter the silence on purpose. Meet the self you've been outrunning. Sit with the shadow the noise was hiding. It will be uncomfortable, and then, slowly, it will set you free. Build a self so complete in solitude that no crowd can move it, and no room can define it. Be the rare one who doesn't need the room, and who, for exactly that reason, transforms it just by walking in. If this reached something in you, subscribe. This channel is for the ones building the inner citadel while everyone else performs. Stay quiet, stay sovereign,